Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Glad to see everybody here this morning. At this time, I will call the meeting of the Okaloosa County School Board for workshop for February 9th, 2026 into order. Board members, good to see you. At this time, we don't have any changes to the agenda, so we'll just follow right through and go from there, but holler out when you have an item that you want clarification or comment. All right, so this evening we'll have a call to order and then any changes, and then we'll approve our agenda. Moving to section 3 of recognitions. 3.1, tonight we will recognize Crestview High School student Donovan Morales, 2025 Florida High School Athletic Association Class 3A Boys Swimming 50 meter and 100 meter freestyle state champion. What an accomplishment. So it'd be great to honor that student. Moving on to section 4.1, we're at the recommendation of the superintendent, we'll be appointing a new principal for Walker Elementary School. Okay. All right, and moving on to 5 would be our public comment, which would be for agenda items blue card. So 5.1 will be any members of the public desiring to address us on our agenda items this time. We have no items in section 6, committee and staff reports. Moving on to the consent agenda, 7.1 will approve the consent agenda. 7.2, approval of the minutes of the student disciplinary hearings of January 26, 2026, the minutes of the workshop meeting of January 26, 2026, minutes of the regular meeting of January 26, 2026, and that recommended by the superintendent. 7.3, the appropriation of District 1 School Board member capital outlay funds to Southside Primary School for a stage curtain in the amount of $2,500, presented by Dr. White. 7.4, appropriation of District 2 School Board member capital outlay funds to Southside Primary School for a stage curtain in the amount of $2,500, presented by Mr. Destin. 7.5, appropriation of District 4 School Board member capital outlay funds to Southside Primary School for a stage curtain in the amount of $4,672.75, presented by Mr. Bryant.
Madam Chair, can I comment on the last 3 items?
Certainly.
First of all, I'd like to thank my fellow board members for contributing to this cause. I will just say that both of my children went to Southside Elementary, and I believe those curtains probably outdate them. So, but it's going to be nice. I actually had an opportunity to walk through the stage area, and it's definitely going to be an enhancement for the school. So thank you, fellow board members.
Well, and also, again, it shows that we work together to do what we can for all the schools. It's great. All right, moving on to 7.6, budget amendment number 4, fiscal year 25-26, presented by Ms. Perry, Chief Financial Officer. 7.7, monthly financial statement for December 2025, presented by Ms. Perry. 7.8, invoices to be approved for payment, presented by Ms. Perry. 7.9, request to write off internal funds NSF checks as uncollectible, presented by Ms. Perry.
Madam Chair, I have a question on that.
Certainly.
Are we, Ms. Perry, are we putting a process in place? Because when I was reading through the story on those, a lot of those had been held for enough time that they couldn't be collected or sent to the state.
What happens is with the new company, if the bank doesn't get the check to them at a certain time, or if there's not an address on the check, or there's a lot of different criteria for them to guarantee it. And then if they don't collect it, then we have to request to write it off. But my accountant in budgeting has been working very closely trying to get all the bookkeepers, giving them more support to try to get this to not happen.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, 7.10, service agreement number 26-107, Bay Breeze Development, Inc., presented by Mr. Wyndham, Program Director for Purchasing. 7.11, 25-26 class size reduction compliance plan presented by Mr. Spolsky, Assistant Superintendent.
Madam Chair, I have a question on that for Mr. Spolsky.
Okay.
I saw on 3 of those, there was a data reporting error. Was that something unique, or is it something, elaborate on that, if you would.
Yeah, yes, sir, there's 14 schools on there, and Ms. Meserve and I reviewed that. One of those was a data reporting error on our side, and a couple of those were on our schools. Ms. Meserve, if you want to address that specifically. But we're required by state statute to report all of these that are over class size compliance, and then give suggested strategies on how to make sure we're in compliance for next year. So I'll let her address that.
Good morning. For a couple of schools, they had room errors. So the rooms were used on multiple sections. And then in the master schedule, it's easy to double schedule periods in one room in one period, and that was another error.
I gotcha. While you're there, another question. So most of them, the explanations of what's going to happen were perfect. But on Plough and Blue Water Bay, those weren't specific, like we're building a new school, we're doing this. What's the story on those two?
So they are both schools where we work to accommodate military transfers, and especially Plough. And we have provided ample space, sometimes over capacity, for those military families that transition over the summer.
And those two are also showing a slight decline in,
They are.
yeah, okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, moving to 7.12, request for course adoptions for Okaloosa Technical College South and North campuses for the 26-27 school year, presented by Mr. Williams. All right, 7.13, request for course code adoption for the 26-27 school year, presented by Ms. Gillis. All right, 7.14, request for course code adoption for the 26-27 school year, presented by Stephanie Gillis again. And I wanted to comment, is that the Baker one? Ms. Hurley, is that the Baker one, 14? Yes, okay, anyway, I wanted to mention as Baker's school board member, and Ms. Hurley, their assistant principal, is here. This has to do with their ROTC program. And I want to say that Baker has a very strong ROTC program up there, and I'm glad to see that they're moving this into the middle school. It's one of the most popular programs at the school, and I think it's great that we're going to go ahead and bring in those 8th graders and get them started. So it's a wonderful program, and they have fabulous instructors up there. So glad to see you here today, and that's exciting for Baker. Okay. All right. Okay, we're moving on to Section 8, Superintendent's Human Resources Recommendation. 8.1, Employees on Administrative Leave, presented by Ms. Maxey. 8.2, Deferred Retirement Option Program, presented by Ms. Maxey, who is our Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources. 8.3, Cleared Certification Requirements and Issuance of Contracts for the 25-26 school year, presented by Ms. Duran. 8.4, Out-of-Field Report for 25-26 school year, presented by Ms. Duran.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to point out that that's the lowest I've ever seen the out-of-field, so it's like 2, so.
Well, I know Ms. Duran and her group work on that, and by this time of the year, they've got a lot of those cleared out, and that's great. All right, 8.5, Employment Separations, presented by Ms. Maxey. 8.6, Personnel Recommendations, presented by Ms. Maxey. 8.7, Employee Transfers, presented by Ms. Maxey. 8.8, Leave Without Pay, presented by Ms. Maxey. At this time, we have nothing on 9, Discussion Agenda. Moving to 10, Construction Program Owners Representative Business. And today's your meeting, correct?
After this meeting, I'll do it and report tonight.
Thank you. All right, so that'll be 10.1, the program status report for, out of our board's representative, which is Mr. Heinley. All right, moving along to 11. Mr. McGinnis, Attorney's Business today,
No
sir?
report this morning.
Thank you, sir. And then that leads us to section 12, which is the superintendent's business, and we have some student trips, but I'm sure you have some other information for us. Good morning.
Good morning, yes, ma'am. So, Madam Chair, School Board, so we do have a number of different reports that we're going to present this morning. Just to give you a quick heads up on where we're going, we'll talk a little bit about the new health clinic. We're going to talk about our FTE results as it pertains to the February factor, and then we're also going to look at CTE. I'm going to do a few highlights as well as go over some of the first semester highlights as well. So first of all, just want to get to this week. So this is Hope Week, and you might remember we used to have what we called Hope Squad, and we really wanted to get into being even stronger on the mental health side for students, and Hope Squad was about suicide prevention and awareness. We've now established our own care crew, but this week is Hope Week across the state, it's Hope Week across the nation. And you can see up here a number of things that will happen at the school district and at schools. So from assemblies to spirit theme days to acts of kindness are happening all across the school district. So very proud of that. Each school has a care crew from high school to elementary. Elementary, it's more about acts of kindness, or at the middle school level and second and high school level, it is more about suicide prevention and awareness. And especially those students, when a student might mention anything with self-harm, what statistics say is those students don't necessarily say something. So this is about teaching students to say something to the appropriate people. And then, as you know, we have our mental health counselors who also then provide resources, but also resources outside the school district as well. So just very proud of this program, very proud of Ms. Schroeder and her group of taking over Care Crew and really keeping it rolling. And it's, I say all the time, going back about 6, 7, 8 years ago when we started this venture, if we save one student's life, it's important, and it was worth it. So just appreciate the work you'll see across our school district here. There'll be a number of things happening this week. On Thursday, it's about wearing yellow to be in solidarity, but you might also see some messages at the school district as well on different acts of kindness. So that's a big week that's happening. Also, last week, some of you had the ability to read in classrooms. We did the Celebrate Literacy. I love the read white and blue, playing off the red. Get it? So the read white and blue, pretty good. I had to make sure that there was that connection there. But you also see some of the different activities that happen and some of the winners with the bookmarks. But it was nice to be able to tie it to 250th year celebrating our country. So that was neat as well. But Celebrate Literacy Week is always a fun week for students, especially in kindergarten classrooms, but everywhere. But especially those little kindergarten kids, it's neat to see them get all excited.
Those bookmarks might be nice to have our print shop print them out and distribute them.
That could be an excellent suggestion. Yes, ma'am. Also, the career fairs that are happening. This is just a highlight. The Okaloosa Public Schools Foundation, as Ms. Ivanchik, as you know, really supporting this venture. There'll be more to come on that. But also for Walton Beach High School, doing their career fair that they've established over the years, and then Crestview High School as well. But this is a state initiative for those who don't know, and just really looking at tying kids to careers. I think the earlier you can do that for students, the better. And then looking at first semester highlights, and I'm going to try to go through this as expeditiously as possible, but if you have anything that you would like to stop me on, please do so. So first of all, I just want to say thank you to the school board, thank you to those at the district office who are here and who are not here, and especially thank you to our schools and students and families. So as you know, in a school district, we've talked about, we're the second largest employer in this county. And there's so much that happens over the course of a semester, let alone a year. But the first semester didn't go without some challenges As you know, we have our pillars, but there were definitely challenges in the first semester, one of which was enrollment, like we've discussed over the course of the first semester into the second semester, in different things that will come before you at the end of February. But with that, it's about staying focused on what's most important, our students. And I just appreciate the work that's happening at the schools with our teachers, with our administrators, our support staff, keeping them at the heart of everything that we do. And when you do that, good things can happen, even when things are challenging. So I just appreciate what's happening out there. So academic excellence, it remains at the heart of everything that we do. And in here, we've always talked about, being an A+ school district, and that plus being academics, the arts, and the athletics, and having good programs for students. In the first semester, our music programs did a great job, some of which came before this board, which you'll see here in a moment as well. But it's not just band, it's about chorus, it's about our theater programs, it's about at the elementary level, those who have music, those who have art, and it's about celebrating what they do. Those students on the arts side, even look at research, that they do even better academically when they're involved in those types of programs. And we've tried to evolve in the arts even more so through the years. And you'll see some athletics as we go through. But just looking at the engagement. So our teachers, they do an absolutely fantastic job. And one of the things in today's world, when you look at these cell phones, when you look at iPads, when you look at what teachers have to compete with in terms of when kids go home, there's so much technology that's out there. So teachers doing a great job with engagement and capturing kids. That's one of our main focuses. And then you look on the right side, the individualized support. So it's one thing to create a lesson for the entire class. It's another thing to create lessons, which they do, then for small group. And then it's another thing to create lessons, which they do for individualized students. And you look at that 3-tier support, so to speak, that's a lot on teachers' backs, and just appreciate what they do. And many of them also have support from their educational support paraprofessionals who do a great job. So keeping that at the heart of what we do in terms of academic excellence. So then you look at the graduation rates, which we've talked about. Not going to go too far into this, but we've gone from 88% to 91%. Our 6 major high schools, Fort Walton, Choctaw, Niceville, Crestview, Laurel Hill, and Baker, they're at 96.7%. So we've gone from 88 to 91 because that encompasses every student, whether it be a charter school, whether it be Okaloosa Online. But when you look at our 6 major high schools, 96.7, but we've gone up 3 percentage points, and that's our biggest jump in a while. So just very proud of the work happening. Then you look at some schools of excellence. As you know, we had several schools of excellence that's designated by the state of Florida. So just continuing to do a good job. And then the AP School Honor Roll, when you look at Choctaw, Fort Walton, and Niceville, they all got designations for their work in the advanced placement program. So then you look at student focused, another pillar of what we have, and very specifically in the arts and the athletics. So many different athletic programs succeeding. You'll see that this evening with the Crestview High School swimmer. And you think about Crestview High School swimming, if we went back 5 years ago, 6 years ago, you would not have seen that. Mm-hmm. But it seems like every board meeting we have state winners. Go back 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we had strong athletic programs, but they were not necessarily coming before this board as state champions, and that seems to be happening more and more. But even Choctaw, which you see here, going to the Final Four, just a representation of the athletics that's happening across this school district. And I don't think that we probably, and I'll put me, do as great a job as highlighting the coaches that we have. And you think about the time, the effort that's put into coaching our athletes, they do an absolutely fantastic job. And you'll see if the evening practice is over at this time, many of these coaches are still here at this time, putting in late hours, weekends, so just appreciate what they do. You look at the Civics to be champion, we've talked about this young man who was the state champion for Florida, and then went to the national level to compete. And then again, we've had our arts programs, bands, having high-level recognition. Each of the high school bands, the secondary bands, we have a band director who's received several accolades, and there'll be another one to come, but we'll get to that later. And then our chorus and theater programs as well, just appreciating what they do. The continuous learning, and especially on the CTE side, and I will challenge anybody to look at what these students do in the building trades program and compare it to what we did back when we were in school in carpentry or whatever the course was of what we built versus what they build today. Pretty impressive. Engineering, web programming, think about HVAC. Students are learning how to do HVAC already. What's not up here is welding, just different programs, the automotive, but then also the nursing program. And as a reminder, which I know this board does not need, it's about creating programs here in our high schools that can funnel to our local colleges and can funnel to our workforce. So that's what we're trying to do here in Okaloosa.
Can I comment, Mr.
Please.
Chambers, real quick? So I think with our graduation rates being as high as they are, I think it's because, one, we had a shift years ago to highlight children who might not be college bound and give them something that would help them to stay in school. And I think that's been a plus for our trade programs, because it keeps those kids occupied and it gets them on a path to success. And some of these kids are actually making more money right out of high school than I did right out of high school, so.
It's very true, and where some used to say, you know, get them in athletics and they'll stay in school for some, it's the same thing for certain CTE programs. Get them hooked in these CTE programs and they also stay in school, so I appreciate that comment.
And I think that goes to an earlier slide, Mr. Chambers, where you were talking about how we have gone a lot more into individualized teaching, where we used, maybe back, maybe not you, but maybe it was a little more, everybody kind of went the same path, more or less. But now we're seeing, or students are telling us, or they're showing these aptitudes, and we're fostering it rather than saying, nope, we're doing this. And I think that's why what Tim is saying, that we're seeing that success. And also, you know, they're coming out, all these certifications, and I know Ms. Beasley's here, I forgot the exact number, but there's a bunch. How many certifications? A lot.
Thousands.
Yeah, yeah, and it's in like 22 different areas, correct? Yeah, so they're getting all these thousands of kids are getting certified, and that gives them, you know, they'll have a diploma, but they also have that little extra that says, not only have I done the regular coursework, but guess what I can do? I think that's pretty cool.
Yes, ma'am. Then you look at modern innovation, and these are just a few of them, but you look at the TransFinder route software. So if you remember, our transportation department, they were going a certain direction with a route software that was then discontinued. And literally in less than 6 months, they had to pivot. So they did a very good job. But this is also one of our challenges, is continuing to try to be as efficient with routes in order to get students to school earlier or back home sooner. So just appreciate the work of Mr. Meyer and his group, Mr. Gore and the group, of really looking at that technology to help us be more efficient. Then the Thrill Share, if you remember, we had a different program that would notify parents, but that was if you signed up. So we switched off of that, which was something that we paid for, went back to Thrill Share, being even more economical, but even reaching more because we have that data to be able to send to families if the bus is late or if the bus is going to arrive early, so to speak. So just appreciate that work. The transportation department, I think, does a great job, but it is still a challenge, and it's an area that we're still trying to get even better in. And then you look at just the classroom technology. This board has really supported the Clear Touches and other bits of technology, so I just appreciate that. It means a lot to these schools to be able to get them into classrooms. But these are just two examples, but you can see the students working with iPads. You can see the students also working with the ClearTouch. And I just appreciate our curriculum department really doing a good job of not only purchasing them, but then giving support on how to utilize them and emphasize them in classrooms. Then on the Safer Schools pillar, Mr. Bryant, so there you go, the Crestview parking lot. I know that's been about a year in the making, maybe even a little bit longer. So I think we're making good progress there, so just appreciate everybody's patience. The Edwin's old cafeteria renovation, and this is just a reminder, all the old cafeterias are being repurposed into, the majority of them, into classroom space, which gives us even more capacity, which will help us with potentials in the south. It helps us in the north end of the county, definitely, when we're doing these type of renovations and adding capacity. And then you look at Pine View at the bottom. This is as of January, so you can see the bottom left, so you can see the progress that's being made there. I think Mr. Meyer will tell you every day is fast and furious on the site over at Pine View. And then you can see in the bottom right, you can see Destin Elementary, the 30 classroom addition is still on its way. Both of those two projects, August 2026, we should be in operation.
And we're going to open up, we're going to do a ribbon cutting at Baker
Yes, ma'am.
on the 20th. So
It's-
there are 10 new
it's a-coming.
classrooms. Yep.
And then you just look at some of the other things that happened over the course of the first semester. Dr. Jenny Morgan, we named that cafetorium after her, just a great educator here in our county. Our Ed Support Person of the Year, we have our Administrators of the Year, we have our Teachers of the Year. So just appreciate all that they do. And then the community engagement number, and this is just a few of them highlighting, and there's so many more community partners. But FPL, over at Choctaw, we had that $50,000 classroom makeover, so just appreciated that. The Public Schools program, the Public Schools Foundation, looking at the financial literacy event, and those are really events that happen, so just appreciate that support, helping our students with financial literacy. And then just teacher grants happening across the school district as well. All of those are part of the community, helping with those funds to be able to deliver those to teachers. Also, during the first semester, we, as a school district, trying to give back. We had the Thanksgiving meals. We had the Response Force One, who provided Chromebooks to about 200 students to go with the Thanksgiving meals. Ms. Card and her team helped organize that, and then we were able to deliver meals here at the district and deliver them to the schools. So families had Thanksgiving meals. That's always a blessing to see that, especially when they drive up, and not that you like to see tears in eyes, but it just shows how meaningful it is when those tears do fall. And then the Angel Tree Project, which we partner with the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office. Just appreciate Sheriff Aiden partnering with us. And again, that's just a blessing. Sheriff Aiden was actually trying to ride the bike, so I didn't want to get outdone. So I also got on the bike as well. But just really, it's just special when you see that the community supporting our students with gifts during the Christmas and holiday time. So just that was nice. And you can see the little dog there that was here at the district that day helping out. And that was just, that was nice. Some people wanted him to stay, but the sheriff's office had to take him back.
Yep.
And our Purple Star, as we know, for years we've had all of our schools be Purple Stars, but now we're a Purple Star school district in support of our military students and their families. And then looking ahead, I just say, as we wrap up, I say all the time when I go speak at events, you know, we're not a perfect school district, but we definitely are a school district that strives to do things the right way. We have amazing teachers who work every single day to make a difference. We have administrators and principals who I have utmost confidence in, a district office staff here who works hard behind the scenes to help, and just appreciate that. And I mention all that to say, because there are challenges ahead with budgets, with enrollment. When you look at these challenges ahead, the empowerment scholarships, all those things, at least for me, I have to remind myself of what we're all here for, and it's about students, and it's striving to make the best decisions. And I fully understand that those decisions can be debated, and I understand that and appreciate and actually respect it. But decisions do have to be made when challenges are here, and try to make them to the best of our ability with these students in mind. So that's just a quick highlight of the first semester, and there's so much more. Any comments at all before we go to some of our other presentations?
I'd like to ask you something on going back to the Hope Week and what that stands for and keeping kids safe and everything, and of course, all right. So this year, this, as you know, recall, the legislature put in a cell phone policy.
Yep.
Okay? And it's my belief that some of the things that, for lack of a better term, we call bullying and so forth, have to do with external factors, which often come through on the cell phone. So I want to ask you, Mr. Superintendent, if you've looked at any statistics since we've now been on that cell phone policy for over a year. If you have anything to say or where you can see that having those no cell phones in elementary and then selected use, and as a matter of fact, in the classrooms I've been through, and these were secondary, I saw the pouches, cell phones in. I didn't hear one go off, and the whole time I was observing the class, so that seems to be working. But do we have any statistics or any idea of if that is working to help the actions of our students?
So absolutely love the question. I don't have that here this morning, but I will say, I think when you speak to administrators, and we'll get that data for you.
Thank you.
But when you speak to administrators, I think it's been a good thing. I think when you're trying to compete with cell phones, and our kids are fantastic, but they also know how to even text underneath the table sometimes, so there's some skills there.
Right.
But I think this has been a good thing. Some of our high schools where it's not complete law yet, they've also taken a strong stance with cell phones as well. So we'll see what happens legislatively as we go into next year, but also what we potentially will do at the high school level here in Okaloosa. But I think it's been successful, but we'll get you that data.
Thank you.
Can I follow up on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I know we've had conversations with students, and we're going to do that again this year, but when we were at Laurel Hill last year, this came up, and I want to remind people, parents especially, that students, are your responsibility outside of school and all that, but when we asked the students, how many of them actually own their cell phone? How many raised their hand?
I think all of them.
None of them, because they didn't actually own their cell phone. Their moms or dads paid for it.
Not you meant who actually had a cell phone.
Yeah, right.
Right. So I say that because every time I have an opportunity to say this, parents, please do your due diligence with your children's cell phones. Monitor, check what they're looking at. You owe it to them to be the parent, not to be the friend, but be the parent when it comes to these cell phones. And I think the law has definitely helped, because you go into schools now, you're seeing more of an interaction like it used to be, where kids are actually interacting with each other, talking to each other. The noise is a lot louder in the school because they're actually engaging with each other. But every time this comes up, it's always an opportunity for me to share with parents, please monitor what your kids are looking at on their cell phones, because you're the ones that are actually paying for those cell phones. So students need to understand that you have every right to monitor what's going on their cell phones. And I think that would help curb a lot of what you were talking about, like bullying and things like that, if parents were actually engaged on what was on their children's cell phones. So.
Madam Chair, I have a question on that particular topic.
Sure.
So the legislation that came down wasn't a full mandate. It allowed a lot of discretion at the local district. Am I correct on that?
At the high school level, correct. At the elementary through middle school, so no cell phones.
Right,
Elementary
right.
through middle. Our current policy that we already had in place removes cell phones, but it gives, the previous one would give teachers the ability to utilize them instructionally. Now, the new one, K-8, no cell phones. The current policy still in place for high school, and that'll be something that potentially could come through in legislation for high school next year, because I know they were piloting some things. But again, some of our high schools have already taken steps of being even more, I'll use the word aggressive, in terms of cell phones at the high school level. But we'll see what we also do as we go forward.
And this board unanimously was in total support of that. And just want to make sure the public is aware of that.
Absolutely.
And also, I know that cell phones can be used for academics, but our district has worked so diligently to try and make sure that we have other devices that students can use in the classroom where the cell phone would not necessarily be, would not be necessary. We have all kinds of different, we have the iPads and the different devices that we can afford our students to use that takes it away. Then that there's not that opportunity to get to email and texting and all that. So, anything else on that? Okay.
All right. So we're going to start with HR. Wanted to give an update on the health clinic. If you've driven by, you can see that a whole lot of progress has occurred, and we're getting closer to being operational.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Superintendent Chambers and board members, for having me today. So I just wanted, before I show you my slides that we put together, I wanted to give you a little bit of my why in the beginning here. Because when I first got hired, I got the opportunity to work under Dr. Hale for a little bit. But when I was interviewed, I said, what would you want to accomplish or see accomplished in this department under risk management in the next year or so? And he said, actually, the Benefits Oversight Group have been talking about doing an employee health clinic. And I said, we can do that. So here we are. And it wasn't, I said me in the beginning in that route because I wanted to be the cheerleader, and I was throughout this whole thing, but it wasn't just me. It was a collaboration of multiple departments and people that were able to make this come to fruition. So we'll just dive in. So why would we want one in the first place? A lot of this is going to say how great it is for the employees, and it is. It's phenomenal for the employees, but we get the opportunity to service and make sure our students achieve that student excellence by taking care of the nuanced portion in the background of our employees, right? So we get to there a little bit behind the scenes. So teachers, principals, bus drivers, they get hands-on experience. So I'm in the background, I don't get to see that. But what I do get to see are the employees on an everyday level where they say, wow, thanks for bringing this new innovative thing to us, like some of the other plans and stuff that we've implemented for them. And this is going to be another way to do that, to achieve that student excellence as well. So why would we want to do that? So this is exclusive to our employees that are on the medical UHC plan. They get increased care at convenient times for them, so we have extended hours at the clinic, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. And the quality of care. So right now, out in, I'm going to say the wilds, out in the regular part of the counties and stuff, there is limited primary care physicians to begin with. When you do have to go see a primary care physician, sometimes it's 2 to 3 months out, especially if you don't have one assigned to you or they have left. And a lot have left the area recently, so people are without. And when you do get to go to the doctor, sometimes they're running behind, and then when you get in there, you can get 5 or 10 minutes to talk about what's going on with you, and you're rushed out, and then you have to leave. But sometimes you leave with, man, I should have asked about this. But if you do call back, it's going to be a while for the nurse to call you back. It's just a long situation. So in this case, they get to come in, they have dedicated time to talk about things, they can deal with things that are chronic care conditions, and they can help them manage those conditions. And they're free. So as long as they're on the medical plan, they're going to have those free visits, and they can also walk out with their pharmacy generic meds that day. So if they go in with a sinus infection and they need an antibiotic, they're going to leave that day with it. And that can be very comforting as well, because when you're sick and you leave the doctor now and they say, okay, we're going to call that into your pharmacy, let's just
choose one out there. And then you get there to go pick up your pharmacy, and they'll say, oh, it's going to be an hour or so before we get that filled for you. Now you go home, putter around a bit, come back. It's just another amount of your time that's being spent to do that, not feeling well. So it's time saving as well, cost saving. So it's just a really great service. So some of the services that can be offered are the same you would get if you were to go into an urgent care that you're familiar with in the area. But this is just tailored to us and our employees. So any lab services, blood work, those types of things. They do health coaching and condition management, and they work in tandem with our already the ones that we already have relationships with for our vendors, like Level 2, Lantern, those types of things we've already implemented. So if they get to a point where they've exhausted what they can at the clinic and they need to send them someplace, they're going to send them to our resources that we already have established. And then family care, so dependents and spouses that are on the medical plan will be able to be seen there as well. So the location is at the Okaloosa Technical College in the south area, and it's the same address, but it just has Unit 2. So we kind of gave you a little map here. That's from Dr. Bill Smith, who used to be with us in the operations branch, and he retired. So we took that. That's our new parking lot. So that parking lot is actually for OTC as well. So there's 55 parking spaces there, and there's 11 allocated parking spots to the actual clinic on there. These were the pictures that were taken right after Thanksgiving. Now, in the beginning, we had an open date of like January 28th. Okay, so I was on the sidelines cheerleading everyone along, like, we're gonna do it. And they're like, I don't know if we're gonna do that. And I was like, but we are. So after Thanksgiving, when I took these pictures, I was like, oh Lord, I titled this folder, I don't know if we're gonna make it to January 28th, but here we are. This next one, I was super excited about this because this happened. These are the trailers that you're seeing. They're like 3 different modulars that they had to build to put together to create our clinic, but they actually were delivered on MLK Day. So the entire district was down already. Everybody's home. They're celebrating their holiday. And then our people were actually out receiving these trucks and bringing them in. So I just want to acknowledge Mr. Meyer's team, the operations and maintenance team, for doing that. Dustin Keith has taken over for Dr. Smith, and him and I were on the phone all morning with the companies because they started their 6-hour drive in to bring those in. And then Luke Mitchell, Bradley Robertson, and Chuck Benton of our maintenance team were there to take care of them. And I just wanted to acknowledge them and say what a phenomenal job to come in on your holiday and get that taken care of for us. It was great. And then this is kind of where we're at right now, okay? So that's been put together where we've got concrete down, which you may not see all of that here. There's a little bit of a mock-up, which thankful to Mr. Mers for putting that together. So it's gonna have the sign put on today. They're working on getting the ramps and stairs by tomorrow. But everything else is functional and looking well. I was just out there this morning and things are looking really, really good. These are our providers for the clinic, Miss Pamela Ferrand and Mickey Rogers. And last week, they had the opportunity to come out. They came to our admin facility to meet people, gave out some swag. We had them at OTC South doing the same thing. And then we had them at Carver Hill as well. So people got to meet their providers and kind of talk about what the expectation was. We're hoping for a soft opening this week. So it is exciting. And then I kind of want to talk about the marketing and engagement plan, because the biggest thing here is how are we going to get people to use the health clinic? It's exciting, but if people don't utilize it, then it's all for naught. So we really want to make sure that we're getting engaged with our employees. And it all started with Mr. Chambers' letter when he introduced the clinic to us, and then it's kind of trickled down from there. So what happens is I piggybacked onto Mr. Chambers' letter to ask people to go and register at the Marathon portal. So if they go and register at the Marathon portal, it also kicks into gear Marathon's side of engaging with the employees. So they go to the portal. I offered some incentives. We'll talk about that in a little bit so that we can encourage people to go in and do those things. And then when Marathon, it starts out a 30-day window where they start sending, hey, it's coming, get to know your provider, let's get you an appointment, do you have a chronic care condition? So all of those types of things. So there's two ways. You can go on the regular computer way. You can download the app to your phone. It's really simple, easy. The portal is real easy to walk through and utilize. And then these are the participation agreements that are sent out. It just shows you a little bit more here, like how they're going to send out their messaging. They do have separate emails just for utilizing engagement with the clinic themselves. Once you actually go in for an appointment, then the engagement with you is tailored on an algorithm to your needs. So your needs, Ms. Ivanchek, are different than my needs, so it's going to tailor it to you rather than to me. So this is kind of your patient experience. You know, we have Beverly up here. She engages with them. They start sending out some material to her, whether it's by email or snail mail. Then she comes into the clinic and she is seen. And then once she is seen, they're rescheduling her for rechecks. Or if they find out that, okay, so I came in for a sinus infection, but while I was there, I mentioned I'm diabetic or I'm type 2 diabetic. Now they have something to add to that so they can reach out and they can help her manage that as well. These are the incentives we put in place. So any employee that currently was with the UHC rewards program can still continue to get their UHC rewards by utilizing the clinic. We've talked to UHC and they're powering up with Marathon to be able to do that. So they can still get those rewards. We created in my team a Marathon scavenger hunt portal. So it's just a short 5-question where I ask them to go to different places in the portal and show me, like, what did you see under XYZ? Were there webinars? Name 3 of them. Because I wanted them to get used to, you know, going in there and using it so they can get better utilization with just the portal itself. Down the road, we could say, hey, do these webinars and you may earn some HRA dollars down the road. I don't know, but there's that option. So I just want them to know how to utilize it better. And then the first 100 employees who register with the Marathon portal, they're going to have a list to me, and we're going to put them in a drawing so they can win something. One of the things they can win is a walking pad. You know, it's like, there's other things they can win too. We don't know what that's going to be. We have book bags, we have drinking cups, Stanleys, we have all kinds of things. So.
Did you say that was a walking pad?
It was a walking pad, but I couldn't remember the name of the one with the handles. I'm like, it escapes me, so it's the walking pad. Lord Jesus. But I did want to also say thank you to all of the many departments that work together to bring this to fruition. This isn't a Sarah Cato thing or risk management thing, although it's under us, but I've been grateful that I was entrusted with it to be able to bring it to fruition, and all of these departments and these people participated in that. And we've learned a lot of things too. So our goal is to, if this is well utilized and we get a good return on investment, is to create one in the north and to create one in central area as well. But we have to get that utilization up to see those numbers first. So I would encourage everyone, if you get a chance to make an appointment and go, check it out. They're going to treat you right and do good. This is also an opportunity for us to kind of step up our game for recruitment and retention. You know, there's a lot of different educational avenues out there, and so if we can step up that game with retention and recruitment by added benefits, that's part of the salary package, is a benefits package. So I just think it's a great thing. But I just want to say thank you to all the different departments that helped in this as well.
And then real quick, so good morning. Sarah, Ms. Cato has thanked everyone, but I just also want to thank Ms. Cato. As you guys can see, she is extremely excited and passionate about this. She's put her heart into this. She's gone out to every school to tell them about this. And so I just don't want to not also appreciate you today in front of everyone too. And we are very excited about this coming venture for our employees and just appreciate everyone's support. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Ms. Cato has been spearing this, and also her enthusiasm for it. I've had several conversations with her. She's excited. She's not just saying, okay, I'm doing this. She, as you can see, and I think this is going to be such a benefit, so thank you. I know you don't want to take a pat on the back, but you should, because you brought this whole thing to our district and have stayed with it, and I think it's going to be such a benefit. So board members, any comments?
I have one, because I have worked with Ms. Cato since she's been with us. But I remember a few years ago when I personally heard about it, and I was sitting here thinking, man, this is huge. This would be great for our school district. But I would like, you were talking about, for it to be success, we have to utilize it. Now, within FSBIT, we do have several districts that are currently using this and have been using this. So from what your research has been, and I think this is encouraging to this board because you were talking about future expansion, how successful has it been with those districts that we have seen that have already started doing this for quite a few years now? So.
Yeah, so out of the 13 districts that make up the FSBIT Trust, they've all, the ones that have selected to have their own employee clinic are saving money, getting a good return on investment. They've even implemented some workers' comp things into the clinic. We have not started that because we're just beginning. We need to get utilization up and kind of see what that picture looks like. But I can see another cost savings on the risk side of the house. You know, I have both the risk side of the house and the benefit side of the house. I can see a cost savings in that, but that will have to come later. But I have a personal goal in my department to see 10% of utilization of our employee population that's involved with UHC Medical, to get them involved in the clinic. So we're going to work hard and hit the ground running to get that utilization up. And then I also know Marathon has a part in that too, and we're going to hold them accountable to do that as well.
Other comments?
Just a general question. From a utilization standpoint, I know that Marathon will offer an invitation to basically sign up into their portal from the individual employee. Do spouses and dependents get similar ones? Are they hosted under the same portal, or is that separated?
So generally, the dependents won't receive anything under the age of 18.
Right.
If they're over the age of 18, they will, and spouses will as well.
Okay. Just a question to the general, from the union standpoint, are you guys seeing excitement about the resource? Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to get utilization, because I went through the Kafka-esque bureaucracy of Ascension 2 weeks ago, just trying to find a primary care physician, because mine left and now he's a hospitalist. Great guy, sad to lose him. But I spent 45 minutes in telephone purgatory just to get to a human to be able to speak about maybe finding a primary care physician. They sent me over to Walton County. They said they're full. So then they kicked me back over, and I finally have, in the far distant, I think in April, I get to see maybe a PA that I can talk to. I can't tell you how many people are going to be so excited to utilize this thing. I think we're going to have high utilization.
So I have one more question for Ms. Cato. So obviously, the rendering, there's a nice little sign up there that says Okaloosa School District. Is it only available to employees of the school district?
Yes, only the employees, their spouses, and children that are on the United Healthcare medical plan.
I'm sure people are going to come by and want to know.
Yeah, they will.
Use it.
I'm sure, and I talked with the Marathon staff. I've developed a good relationship with the staff and have explained to them, hey, you know, you may have some people that come off the street that are like, hey, I want to use this clinic, and you know, and how to approach that. How do we deal with that in a nice professional way? And they're on board. Everything's good to go.
And I'll say that, you know, this is educationally sound too, because we all know that keeping our employees working is the best thing we can do for our students. You know, we have great substitutes, for example, but nothing really substitutes truly that teacher being in that classroom. And of course, we don't want our employees working ill. That's not good for anyone. But we do know that oftentimes our employees take leave because they're ill and they haven't been able to get care, particularly on the weekends or different times or odd times because of our schools starting times. And I think we're going to see, as this is utilized, an uptick in the fact that our teachers are not going to have to use so much of their sick time because they have received medical care on their schedule, so to speak. And again, that's the best thing we can do for our students, is have those employees working. And whether it be the bus driver or whatever, because they've gotten medical care. So that's I think we're gonna be able to follow that. And of course, in your area, you'll be able to see that too.
Absolutely. I also wanted just to add something that stuck out to me right now. I had an email to me that said, well, I realize this is for people on our medical plan, but what about those of us that haven't accepted it? I want everyone to be reminded that we still have Ally Health, and that is still going strong. So all employees and their household members actually can use Ally Health as well at no cost to them. So we're taking care of both sides of the house in that respect.
Great.
And Madam Chair, I'd just like to say that I too appreciate everything you've done, Ms. Cato. I have to say, when I first heard about this, having had some experience in school health, I had some questions. And Mr. McInnes helped me through with some of those, and the superintendent and Dr. Hale. And then I spoke with you, and I felt a lot better about it. And the other thing that some folks may or may not know, I believe you told me that you had had experience with a health clinic in another agency that you worked for at another time. And then I felt a whole lot better about that then, because I knew you had all of those experiences. And so this is a great thing. And very excited about it, and thank you for all of your work. I know Ms. Maxey already came up and bragged on you about that, but thank you for doing all this.
Well, it is a privilege to be the director of the risk management program and to be able to bring all the things. It fills my cup to take care of everyone and know that their needs are met so they can take care of our students. So that's big to me. But please know, I was the cheerleader. There were so many people that helped me through red tape that I didn't even know existed and did a lot of heavy lifting. I just came in and said, no, I want that over here and over here. So, but thank you, I appreciate it.
And you're going to let us know when it's actually open?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great.
And I would just like to sum up to say, this board several years back, some of you were here, some of you are new to it, but still a big part of it. If you look at when we went to partially self-funded insurance, the allied health, the mental health, prescriptions, it goes on to where we are today. So many enhancements to our employees' health insurance. I do want to say, because I think we'd be remiss, Ms. Cato, Dr. Hale, Ms. Maxey, their team, they've really been aggressive and working with this. But then our BOG over here, two of which who are here this morning, who are also a key piece to our health insurance. If you remember, we were looking at a 10% increase in health insurance, a 14% increase in health insurance, and even at the starting of the negotiation, it was in the 20s, and we were able to get it down to 14 or 10 or 8. And now those increases to date, in essence, are non-existent. So those flat pieces, we even helped employees 1 year. So the entire health program for our employees continues to improve. And again, it's a collaboration of the great work of Ms. Cato and her team, our BOG doing an absolutely fantastic job, staying on the cutting edge. And even where we are today, there's already things that they're looking at for next year and the years to come. So it's not just about this moment, it's about the years to come and the vision of this as well. So again, go back, those of us who are here the whole time, go back 5, 6, 7 years ago, and where we are today, it's not even anywhere in the same stratosphere.
Yep.
Madam Chair, can I make one more comment?
Certainly.
So, Mr. Chambers, I appreciate you being very humble regarding this particular issue, but I do want to go back a few years back, and I remember us having conversations about risk management. And I personally asked that we look at risk management in a whole different vision. And I appreciate the fact that you were willing to do that. And I think by opening up to that, us being full members of FSBIT now, having a dedicated risk manager who understands risk management, Ms. Cato and Mr. Frakes before her, I think we're game changers. And I think embracing what risk management has to offer in a way, because risk management is the one department in a public sector where we can control the expenses. We can control those things by keeping our employees at work, by doing proactive things to help our employees. So I appreciate you taking the charge and allowing the people to do the job of risk management to the way it should be done. And that's why we're seeing the fruits of our labor here. Is it, there's still work to be done? Of course, there's always work to be done. Trust me, we are doing a lot on the FSBIT side right now as we speak. But these are the good things that are coming out of all of it by making risk management a focus and not just on the side there. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cato.
Thank you.
So as Mr. Spolsky comes up, so we've talked about enrollment all first semester. This is enrollment, but of a different magnitude because it all deals with budget. And it deals with, in essence, the entirety of the budget of what we do every day. So when you look at our FTE, which Ms. Meserve heads up, we have to do projections. And then those projections play out over different times of the year. The ones most notably, October, February. So we have our February factors as well. So we're going to get into that. Just appreciate the work that Mrs. Meserve does. She is a leader here in Okaloosa, but also in the state when it comes to understanding this and just reminding the board, which again, I know you don't need a reminder, back when we were principals, we had the ability to do an FTE projection within 5 kids. Now, when you look at all the factors that are there today, FTE projections, it's very difficult when you look at all the different factors today. But just appreciate the work.
Yes, sir. Superintendent Chambers, appreciate the time, Madam Chair, Board. This topic is nowhere near as exhilarating as a new health clinic. However, Ms. Meserve and I will take you through the few slides here, and if you have any questions, hopefully we can address them specifically. FTE stands for full-time equivalent, and that's how the J.C. Connor taught Ms. Meserve and I up there at Carver Hill at MIS to do exactly what our superintendent said, and that is to capture those young children in the seats. It happens twice a year by state statute 1011.62. It happens in October, and then it also happens right now in February. Those are survey 2 and 3. Those are the most important surveys we have. And then date certain. Ms. Meserve, you want to speak to that a little?
So our date certain for the February count was last Friday. They pick a week and a specific day, that Friday of enrollment, to calculate FTEs. So Friday was our date for survey 3, and we will work in the next few weeks to get it cleaned up and transmitted to the state for the next calculation.
Yes, sir.
So how do we determine the calculations? Where do we get that data from? Is it from actual attendance numbers? Is it on us? Is it?
Different things weigh in. It is using the minutes of instruction from the school calendar or the school schedules. Attendance does play in that the student has to be enrolled and attended within the 11-day window. So we do have instances where students have missed the entire 11 days. And if that happens, then we cannot claim them for FTE.
The funding formula, Mr. Bryan, is divided up into halves. So we obviously want to capture every student both in the October window and in the February window. And our building leaders, our principals, our administrators, our registrars, our guidance counselors do a great job during those 11-day windows to make sure that they can, even if it includes making phone calls, to try to get those young people in so that we can capture them.
And this board will remember as well, so they're probably not going to go into this as much probably, but from transportation, that's a thing with this. Our students with disabilities, making sure those IEPs, our L plans, all these different pieces. So even when we say this right now, kind of simplistically, like this is like a calculus formula. So that she's responsible for. It does a great job with.
There's a lot that goes into it. Each year at our different state meetings, they have a slide that they show that has every square. I could talk to you after 20 years a lot about that. I don't know that you want to take the time here in the setting to do that. So, yes.
So Mr. Chambers just had a great segue there as it pertains to ESE services. So we added a few things to this slide, and as our public out there watching and our board members, we combined the program along with the category. Also had Ms. Perry in her group review this slide as well to really validate, galvanize the cost factors and whether they have been increasing or decreases just in the last year or two. So most of our students reside in the first three, pre-K to third grade, the 4 through 8, and the 9 through 12, most of our students. And we call those programs 101, 102, and 103. And then you can see we also have our ESE services in their program 111, 112, 113. And then we have our high-level supports, which we call level 4 and 5. So typically, if a student needs more program support, then the cost factor would be a little bit more to help them be successful through their journey, through the grades and the pipelines that they're going towards. I think the thing for the board to note is from last year to this year's program cost factors, you would think with the COLA, you would think with the increase in services and cost of things that things would go up, but they're not. So we are working with finance to embrace those numbers and make sure that we're prepared. There were a couple little bumps. You can see our support level 5 students, level 255, took a little increase in the program cost factor, and also our career ed. Ms. Beasley's work over there with CTE took about a 2/1000ths of a factor increase. Ms. Meserve, anything?
And if I may, I just want to point out, because it's not always obvious, the 111, 112, and 113, those are ESE support programs. But if you'll notice, they are weighted the same as the 101, 102, 103. So until that student crosses over into that 254, 255 program, there's no additional FEFP funding for them.
So I want to go a little further there. So again, if we go back to when Ms. Ivanchek was teaching a while back, when we were principals a while back, when you look at the 111, 112, 113, there were additional funding for those students. Now, it's flat. Then you go look at those program cost factors, and if you remember when we came before this board at a presentation, we talked about the base student allocation, which was $191 of an increase a year ago. This current year, $41 and I think 62 cents increase. We showed that we need to be about $350 on the base student allocation to, in essence, break even. But these program cost factors are another piece of the funding formula. So we're just talking about the base student allocation. When you start throwing the program cost factors, what Mr. Spolsky was talking about, and you see those parentheses, everywhere where there's a parentheses times the total number of kids that we have in the school district, that's now a deficit, so to speak. We're getting less money. So you look at base student allocation, less money. The program cost factors, less money. Inflation, and then you start looking at FTE projections, which you're going to see in a second, enrollment, family empowerment scholarships. All of it is it's almost a tidal wave of what's happening in terms of school district budgets. And I say school district, not just to highlight Okaloosa, but school districts.
So basically, it's costing us more to educate the student, but we're receiving less money to do so.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
And,
that pretty much covers that.
and the question for the public, those cost factors are provided from Florida DOE
State, yes, sir.
or the state, so, and they're given to us and we have to work with that.
Yes, sir.
And one
Yes, sir.
thing to point out, and I always like to point, well, I don't like to point it out, but if you'll notice the 912, it's less than 1. So in each year, it's been trending down. It was 0.99, then 0.98, and now it's 0.97. So that is less than the base student allocation that we receive for the education of our high school students.
Because you would think a 1 would be one-to-one student, right?
Correct.
So this is less than, so it's not even, 1-to-1 on the student, is what you're saying, on the actual allocation to fund teaching that, or
Yes.
educating that
And
student.
across 10,000 high school students, that starts to take a
Yeah.
cumulative toll.
My question, Mr. Heinley actually asked it, but I'm glad you said, how does the cost factor get determined? Do we just magically make that number up? Of course not. It comes from.
It does. They look at the allocation in the final adopted budget, and then they apply the cost factors to kind of try to disseminate it.
And Madam Chair, if I might ask a question for the public's interest, if you might describe just for a moment the difference between when the school district makes its projections for the next year versus what this actually is and how this might affect our budget in a plus or negative manner.
It's a great question, Dr. White, and a smooth transition to the next slide. So where are we?
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
I haven't seen it.
I know, but you've been through it, sir, many times. So where are we? And I'll let Ms. Meserve talk to the chart here, because we broke it down for the board and we broke it down for the public to try to make it clear. What I'd like to say specifically with secondary, there's a lot of flexibility in the way students go to school now in terms of 1 period, 2 periods of leave versus 7 periods of classes. With our 7-period day, there's 28 opportunities through the 4 years. But I note the second bullet there is you must have 6 periods to be considered earn a full FTE. So most of our 9th graders take 6, 7 classes. Most of our sophomores take 6, 7 classes. But when you get a little further into that 4-year career, school leave becomes a thing, working becomes a thing, taking care of siblings is a thing for many of our families out there. Ms.
I
Meserve?
think on the other side of that is that 7th period, you do not earn additional FTE. It is
I was
capped
going to
at
say, we still do a 7-period day. People forget about that. We're one of the few districts that still offers a 7-period day in our high schools, but yet you're saying we aren't getting the funding.
Correct. And if they opt to take instruction take through virtual, it is still capped at 1. So if they have 6 in the school and then they take 3 online classes, we are not earning FTE for those 3 online classes. It is still capped to 1 FTE.
I think that's significant, Mr. Chambers, and how we're doing that.
No, I think it is significant, and this board, past boards have always been committed to the 7-period day because of all the opportunities it provides students. I think there's surrounding districts and districts across the state that also had that same mentality, but yet they now have a 6-period day. And so I think school districts, to include us, will have to evaluate all things in today's current public education. And we want to be a school district that always provides great opportunities for students, advanced placement classes, looking at our career technical education, looking at the arts, and the list goes on and on. And we absolutely want to do that. And we'll always provide a model where we provide opportunities. But that model could look different at some point.
And if we were not to have a 7-period day, we cannot, oftentimes students would have to make a choice. They might want to take a CTE class and an art or be in the band, but they would have to make a choice because they would not have the periods in the day to do that. And that's would be tough to have to take that from them. But in the past, it seems to me, looking at that we were able, with those cost factors being a little bit higher, we're able to balance that out with the cost of not getting the credit for the 7th period day because the other was big enough that we could kind of.
Yes,
But now that that's even under 1-to-1, I mean, I have no kind of credentials in math, but that's pretty obvious where we are.
And Ms. Meserve, help me with this, and you may have to do, you may have to get inside my brain, which is dangerous, right? And Mr. Spolsky, you might be able to help with this as well. So when we used to do a master schedule, we used to, in essence, do it to like, I think 0.94 or 0.95 of students coming.
Yes.
And now,
We're between about 88% and 91 to 92, depending on the high school, of students who are partaking even in that 6-period, 7-period day. So there's a good number of students who are already opting not to participate in the 7-period day. There's still a significant number who are not opting to have 6 periods.
And tell me that percentage again?
It's about 80, it's between 88 and 92. So if I had to say across all the comprehensive high schools, about 90. So when we start looking at them, we automatically know if you have an enrollment of 2,000, you're only going to earn at most about 90% of that FTE.
Okay, so about 10% are not going the full day
Correct.
in general.
In general. Well, that's 7 periods. It goes down from there. So.
Yeah, gotcha.
And so bring that up. So again, I like to be very clear because sometimes we say this here and then the narrative might be it's Okaloosa, ... So this isn't a phenomenon to Okaloosa. There's online opportunities. There's so many different opportunities for students. If you need 24 credits, you can do the math. 7 times 4 is 28. So they start doing the math as well. But then additionally, again, when you can take courses online, which is a good thing, but that's less time here as well. So it's just, we're at a good place in terms of opportunities for students, but a lot of those opportunities, it creates decisions that have to be made at school districts.
What about dual enrollment?
It is also factored in. We report it as we do a class in the school building, so the same number of minutes, but you're still capped. And to Mr. Chambers' point, you can take dual enrollment classes all year. They have, over the last, since COVID, increased the number of virtual online classes offered through our partners at Northwest Florida, and a lot of our accelerated students are doing that. But that also means then they are not enrolling in courses at their brick and mortar school.
So I want to go back to Dr. White's point there, and you can see through these categories our projection for the 25-26 school year, and then where it actually ended up with Survey 2.
And Mr. Spolsky, if I can just make a comment for my colleagues. So what happens to us, all of us, the district and the school board, is that we build our budget for the next year based on the projections that you see up there. And then when the year progresses and we take the actual head count or seat count, as we're doing now in February, we see how close we were. And I think the graphic speaks for itself. I think for traditional schools, I think it says we missed it by 623 students roughly.
Yes, sir.
And then you can multiply that times the cost factor. You can choose 5,000 or 7,000, and you can see what we'll be compelled to do, unless it just so happens that Ms. Perry has put all that money aside in reserve, and sometimes she does put a portion aside. But that's why the question's important.
Yes, sir.
And if I could speak just to the timeline of the projections. Last year, we had an early session, and we were required to adopt a model from the DOE and submit it in January, within the middle of January. So that is even before we knew who was coming back for our second semester, what our February count looked like. And then we are held to that model as it's submitted to the DOE and the estimating conferences. So this year we had a little bit more time, but last year was definitely a challenge in that we still didn't know where we were going to land, and we were already being asked to project for 25-26.
So as we transition forward, Ms. Meserve was presented 3 models from the Florida DOE this year, models 4, 8, and 9. And so let's take a look at our projections just briefly for 26-27, even though we're in the middle of Survey 3 right now.
Well, we're about to start doing our budget
Yes,
for
sir.
next year.
Yes, sir.
And you're registering
Right.
in schools?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
There's never a slow time in the school business. No, ma'am.
But all those go together, your
Yes.
registration count, and then, FTE, and then us trying to get our budget going.
And without sounding corny, I will tell you the amount of pressure and responsibility on our superintendent to balance this budget along with our CFO, it's monumental during these times.
Absolutely.
To approve
and our board to approve it. Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, can I ask Mr. Spolsky to go back one slide?
Yeah, I'd be glad to.
I'm looking at a decrease of traditional online DJJ, 623. Charter went down 55. We see a jump of 126, and then of a total decrease of 551. Where are those children? Are they just gone? Because it seems like we've listed all the possible places they could be,
Not
right?
all of them.
Not all of them.
So there are, there's another option, the FES PEP scholarship. We had a significant number of students that is outside the FEFP calculation that opted to take that PEP scholarship.
Which is through the Florida tax credit. It's funded differently than the FEFP.
Correct. So that number is not included in our model, so not included in the slide, but we did see a decrease of enrollment.
But it wouldn't represent 551, would it?
Each year, we already go down about 3% this year, just by natural attrition and what's going on in the state of Florida. So some of that is that, but there were significant numbers, probably 300-ish, that were in the PEP program for the first time.
Well, and then just a reminder as well to the discussion that we were just having. So when you look at a 7-period day, or a 6-period day, or a 5-period day, or a 4-period day, and just a reminder, Ms. Meserve, Mr. Spolsky can do it better than I can, but FTE is not a student. So it's not a student.
Right.
6 periods.
But then you also look at, which impacts this as well, but it's a blessing too. So middle school students, what do they have the ability to do? High school credits.
Yeah.
So they have the ability to accumulate a number of high school credits. So now they're already ahead when they get to high school, and that's everywhere. So that's a good thing. But many of those students aren't necessarily going to continue to take that full day, so they're not generating a full FTE. So those who don't generate a full FTE, family empowerment scholarships, PEP like they're talking about, as well, and then just normal attrition factors as well, and then you see these types of decreases.
Can you explain the difference between the FES and the PEP?
Those two scholarships, the FES, are the educational options and the unique abilities, and those are funded through the Florida Educational Finance Program.
Uh-huh.
You want to speak to PEP?
And the PEP is,
Through the Florida Tax Corporation Scholarship, and I almost hesitate to bring this up, the interesting thing that I learned last week was if the number of students in the PEP program outpaces the contributions from the FTC program, they will backfill it from the FEFP and HAP.
wait a minute, I'm sorry. Say that again, please.
So if the number of students across the state outpaces the amount of money that was set aside in
So if
that
it's growing faster than they've allocated,
Correct.
okay.
Correct, so they've already allocated those funds to those families, they will backfill it from the FEFP.
Which is
This,
this.
yes. So then we're catching up, and that's kind of the conundrum we've been in this year, not just in Okaloosa County, which we have felt, but across the state, is the catch-up from last year, because it far outpaced the participation across the state, what the expectation was. So they came back and prorated, Ms. Perry could probably speak to that better than I can. They prorated all districts across the state, their final calculation. So we have this, and then we have extra pools at the end of the fiscal year as well.
Which is why one of this board and our district's legislative priorities was to have separated funding, correct? Which we did
Completely removed
prior.
it from the
yeah.
FEFP.
That
so
way, we don't have to see this being pulled.
Correct.
Okay. And the status of that is, do we know?
Still
Not
to be
happening.
determined.
To be determined.
Okay.
But it's also part of so let's jump forward, when budgets come out, and then you see Okaloosa went up $5 million. Well, if Family Empowerment Scholarship is a part of that, charter schools are a part of that. So once you peel back those layers, which Ms. Perry does, then you see the true amount that we actually received.
Which could be in the negative.
Oh, yeah.
This past year, wasn't it plus $45, roughly? 41.
41.
Stand corrected. And we said 350. was what we needed.
We need,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
to break even.
Correct.
And Mr. Destin, on your comment, I really paused for effect because you remember we reported to this board, we take our largest high school in the north, Crestview, with 2,300 enrolled and some change. And remember their highest attended periods were fourth and fifth with only 2,100. And the morning periods were under 2,000. The afternoon periods were under 2,000. So we go back to what Mr. Chambers, Superintendent Chambers said about where are they? In the high schools, we're losing a lot of that seat time by those students because there's more things that they're doing with their day. And they're accelerated in middle school with all of our offerings. There is no other school district that is doing and offering what we are doing and maintaining the success. But we are going to have to make some adjustments in order to make sure that the numbers all match up with a proposed budget.
And Mr. Spolsky, and Madam Chair, that's a question that I have, given the fact that we use the state's model, and from that model, we came up with 623 roughly FTEs short. What options do we have in the future when we are required to use a model, but we believe that the results of the model may be inaccurate, certainly based on experience? Can we adjust that number, or, and I understand there may be some peculiarities about whether you want to be plus or negative in the final count. But do we have any opportunity not to claim the 28,505, for example?
So you can, but to speak to that a little bit more, over the years, the model has been very reflective of our population. The 24, 25, 25, 26 is the first time we saw the 600 drop as we went out with our school budgets, because it was such a large, what we thought was draconian drop in the projection. We were surprised to see that, because remember, we didn't have our February counts yet. So we allocated that in our budget. This year, we've already started conversations about what 26, 27 looks like. Again, we're back in the same boat. It looks draconian, but is it? So how do we protect our schools in the budget process to make sure they have what they need when we start school next August, but not overfill for enrollment that we won't recognize? So there is some local adjustments, what we call local methodology, that we've started meeting on before Ms. Perry puts the school budget packets out.
Which, Doc, takes us to this next slide as it pertains to 26, 27. So we have a Model 4 from the FLDOE, and then we can look at of this decrease that will cause us to go back out and look at what we can do for the future.
So let me make sure I understand. So the model now projects for next year will be down 1293.41?
With traditional online and
Right,
DJJ.
exactly.
Yes, sir.
From
So-
last year's projection. That does
Right.
not reflective of this year's already recognized 600 students. So it's saying, yet again, another 600 student decrease from our expected annualized number for 25, 26.
So you're including this year in that number, the reduction of
The
600?
1,200 is this year's 600 that we
Right.
dropped, and
In
another.
anticipation.
Let Ms. Perry address that one.
Okay.
That's better.
But not really, because what it's important to remember is that 600 that went down this year, I had to use a one-time source of money to cover
You gotta
it.
pay it back.
So next year, you need to we have to compare the projection to projection, because this year's budget was built on the 28,505 students. Now, next year's budget is gonna have to be built on 1,293 less students,
Yeah, because you're paying it
not just
back.
600
Because you're doing
less.
both
You gotta
years,
pay it back.
pulling it both.
Because I haven't,
Yeah.
because I've got to take that reduction of new revenue.
Are we seeing any of the students who initially were out coming back? Or we don't know yet because we're registering, particularly in our younger grades?
Not-
Go ahead.
We don't see them particularly coming back in our younger grades. We do see several coming back to the high schools.
Okay.
We've seen that in their early registration this year.
Well, here's the good news. You guys are on it, okay? And you see, and you're helping us to anticipate what we're going to be facing.
And I'm very glad, so I appreciate you saying that, because I was about to say to this board, our senior staff, we've been discussing this for months. When I say this, the 26-27 school year, and what's going to need to be done. So this is not something where we go, oh my gosh, even though when you look at 1293, that's significant. One thing that I've reminded our senior staff is 1293 of FTE. FTE is how we're funded as a school district.
Yep.
As a school district. So when you look at, if you go down 1293, and if this is your staff, if these are your programs, if these are all the things you do, there's no way to maintain that if you go down 1293, or if you go down 600, or if you go down 400. You have to adjust. If you do not adjust, well, then you're being very irresponsible with dollars that are coming, that are entrusted to us, that are taxpayer dollars. So we have to be responsible with that. But again, so this is something that we've already been looking at, in thoughts of what was next year's FTE projection going to be. Going back to Dr. White's point, this isn't an FTE projection where we can just say, here's our projection. She knows what it's likely going to be in a ballpark, but then when those state models come, just like they're going to come to the other 66 school districts, just like you saw in Senator Gates's presentation, I think the number's 45, I believe, of the 67 school districts across the state of Florida are experiencing significant decline in student enrollment. So for me, it's about being prepared, it's about planning, it's about being creative in what, I'll just speak for Okaloosa, what Okaloosa looks like as we go forward. It's about what are the elementary options. I said to this board before, at the elementary level, we may have to spend some to be competitive at the elementary level. Never before did school districts necessarily have to say, we have to be competitive.
Right.
And so for me, that's just a reality now. This is just a reality of where we are in education in our country. And public education is not the only option. And with that being the case, and it's a reality, then we have to continue to provide an excellent option for families. And I believe wholeheartedly we have an excellent option. And I believe it's the option. However, we have to continue to do a good job and add different opportunities for students along the way, while at the same time being responsible with a budget. So certain things could come, certain things might go. But again, at the end of the day, if you saw those pictures earlier of those students, we're going to continue to have a great model and a great program and offerings for kids.
Madam Chair, can I ask Mr. Spolsky to go back one more slide? That almost 1,300 decrease, what is the state Model 4 really saying from a nuts and bolts standpoint? Are we going to see just a larger increase of utilization of vouchers, and that's a big portion of that decrease? Or is it anything specific? Because that's another big hit in 2 years back to back. Is it just more of the same, or is it?
Well, look back one, if you will. Notice that the bottom line is 550. Notice that the bottom line is 551 currently, negative. Now, if you go to next year, it's 694. The bottom line isn't really that different. I'm seeing the FES going up a lot, the 566.
I see.
Where if you look at the previous, it went up like 100. So it looks to me like they are projecting a lot of that extra 600 to go into FES.
Okay.
Ms. Meserve, you want to add to that at all?
Not today.
Okay. We will capture February. Notice the last bullet. The state will process it from February 9th to the 27th and should get back with us in the April timeframe. If we have it before then we will come and brief the board and senior staff. But as the superintendent said, we are forecasting and working off this projection so that we can really shore up what we need to do for solutions. Ms. Meserve and I have been working very closely, and it is interesting how this parallels with enrollment, housing, birth rates, and school choice. So,
Well, and I almost dare say this, but, so when you have these type of conversations, you need to have these conversations, but then there's also, you don't want to create a sense of everybody's nervous at the same time. So there's a balance to this,
yes.
but I think it's also important to have these conversations. And again, I go back to, this is something that we've been looking at. And the other, if you want to even call it a positive, the last 2 years, we've had to really go through this process. I've shared with this board, the last 2 years, we've adjusted our budget by over $22 million. Over $22 million. I would suspect, as we go into this next one, we will be adjusting in north of $10 million.
Thank you, sir.
So that was not as jubilant as the previous health clinic.
That was not fun, okay?
However, Ms. Dale, if you would come forward, as you know, every 5 years, and I think now it's 6 years, we have to go through an accreditation process. We went through one, I think approximately 5 years ago. We did very well, and it's a good time to refine what you do, refocus on what you do, but in the current climate of where you are. So we will go through that accreditation process. Ms. Dale and others will lead us through that, and want to give this board an update so you know what's coming.
Before I start on that, I do want you to know, Ms. Ivanchek, the bookmarks are being ordered. That was part
Yay!
of our
Okay, good.
plan. Every
Great.
student will receive a bookmark in Okaloosa County,
Great, thank you.
the winners.
That's good.
So, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you today on Okaloosa County School District's Cognia accreditation update. It won't be as long as the others, but it'll keep your attention. So what is Cognia accreditation? Cognia is a globally recognized nonprofit organization that accredits school districts and individual schools around the world. Accreditation affirms that the district meets rigorous standards for educational quality, effectiveness, and continuous improvement. I like to think of the accreditation process as an opportunity to strengthen our district. Why is accreditation important? Well, it's most important because it ensures the accountability and the continuous improvement of our school district, as well as strengthens public trust and confidence to ensure that we align our systems, leadership, and instructional practice. But most importantly, it supports long-term student success. Many of you will remember in October of 2022, Okaloosa County School District received Cognia's Index of Education Quality score of 382 and 58/100ths. This was very important because it named us as one of 38 school districts globally around the world with a system of distinction. And as well as we were one of 5 school districts in the state of Florida that earned that distinction. And during this review, Cognia had multiple noteworthy practices of Okaloosa County School District to include our commitment to implement our purpose, our mission and goals, our data-driven processes, as well as our strong professional development. Cognia also noted an area of improvement, and I can state with certainty that in the last 5 years, we have elevated student voice in our collective shared leadership model. Cognia uses a continuous improvement framework, so it's very cyclical. In the next few weeks, we'll begin the self-assessment portion of the continuous improvement, and each of you, as well as teachers, students, families, and staff, as well as our administrators, will start self-evaluating. And through that self-evaluation, we, as a district, are then going to move into our engagement portion of the continuous improvement. And that's where we're going to collect evidence of what our systems within the school district are doing, so that will allow Cognia to look at our progress and evaluate everything that we're doing. Is it working together to carry out the shared vision and goals of Okaloosa County School District? I wanted to highlight for you the 4 key characteristics: the culture of learning, leadership for learning, engagement for learning, as well as growth in learning. These 4 key characteristics are what Cognia is going to delve into at looking at our work. Within these 4 key characteristics, there's 31 performance standards. And that's the evidence that each of us within the school district, to include school board members, our finance department, our administrators and teachers, the work that we're doing every day. And that's the work that they're going to evaluate to determine our progress. I wanted to provide you a timeline of what to expect over the next year. We have met with Cognia recently. We have not received our official review time, so this timeline may fluctuate a little. So we're starting now. The rest of this semester, we're going to do our self-assessment and collect the evidence of our work. As we move into the summer and first semester of 26-27 school year, it gives us an opportunity to analyze what we're doing and refine some of our priorities to prepare for Cognia's engagement virtual review. It will be virtual, not in person. That is a practice they changed during COVID during 2020-21. And then second semester of the 26-27 school year, in that time frame, will be our virtual review visit. They will provide us feedback and findings, and then hopefully by the end of next school year, we will receive our final accreditation report, which allows us then to start that continuous improvement process all over again. We're in a constant state of improving our school district for our community and most importantly, our students. What questions do you have?
That was very succinct and right, that's self-explanatory. I like that, and I think we're going to do well. I mean, I forgot about that score that we had. That's good.
Well, they've added a new distinction, so it's a distinction of merit, so that is what we are striving for.
Okay. Is there a point number that we're trying to attain, or is that just, they don't know till they evaluate everybody?
I'm going to say it will be greater than 382.
Yeah, that's what I'm
That was
thinking.
distinction, so, but I do not know the exact at this time. Thank you.
Well, if I could just make a comment, I remember that this was very important at one time. And I suspect it still is, and I know that accreditation is important for high school students to be able to say that they went to an accredited high school as they transfer and matriculate and all those kinds of things. So, it's quite an experience. It's not quite the experience it used to be when it was the Southern accreditation, SACS, when we had dinners and all those kinds of things. But it's still very worthwhile, very valuable, and looks like you're well prepared.
We are, in our school district, each of us will have a hand in it, yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
So these emails that we're getting, we should open up if it says Cognia on it?
You will be better informed when you open up those emails, yes.
There you go. There you go. Thank you, Ms. Dale. That's it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right. Lots to digest, but got to know it, right? All right, board members, that takes us down to section 13, board members' announcements and requests for information. All right, so let's get started with Mr. Heinley today.
Okay, a few things. First off, the important stuff. Mr. Superintendent, do you know what the score for the Duke, North Carolina game was? You don't have to answer that. On a serious thing, this FTE, there's an ideology shift happening, and it reminds me, we're become more like a business, okay? You know, we're having to adjust to these numbers that are out of our control a little bit. So when you do that, you have consolidation, you got staffing, you got services that we have to look at to either increase or decrease to match the requirements. But what you said, Soup, was we have to talk about marketing. I mean, you just described a business, okay? And so kudos to everyone for not being a government entity that has their head in the sand and just waiting for it to happen. So y'all are being proactive and more businesslike, and just want to identify that. Other announcement, I had the privilege of going to the all-county band, and I saw several of you there, and man, kudos to those. That was impressive. I mean, the people we got to come in and direct it, and the students, it was very impressive operation. And I sat next to Mr. Wooten the whole time and bugged him the whole time, and I found out that, I mean, truly, Okaloosa County is the top, the premier in that type of, the facilities we have here in the county, but what we produce out here. We got that University of Florida director because we are the top. He came here to recruit our students. So it was very impressive day. And to continue the tradition, today is the 9th. Board members, who was the 9th president of the United States?
Tyler Polk.
Tyler was
Harrison.
10th.
Shortest serving.
Harrison.
William Henry Harrison. It was 31 days. It was the shortest president ever. Okay, for Mr. Destin, since he complained, 9 plus 31 is what?
A year ago. 9 plus what?
31,
Oh, public math, I think that's 40.
40. Who was the 40th president?
I think he was an actor.
He was an actor, the great communicator.
Maybe old Ronald Reagan.
You got it. That's all I have.
Can't pull a fast one on me.
Okay, Mr. Destin?
I just got a bunch of superlatives for tonight that I'll save. Lindsay Smith, Holly, all of them over at, and her staff over at Fort Walton. I mean, they're crushing it this winter and spring semester. So I got a long list, but I'll save it for tonight.
Great, thank you. All right, Mr. Bryant?
I would just like to shout out one of our employees at Southside Primary School, Mr. Cook. He is one of our custodial experts, as I would like to say, because he does a great job. Very quiet man, but I understand, you know, he might be quiet around most, but he is definitely a lively person with the staff and the teachers. And, you know, I put something on Facebook about it, and just the comments that were coming back about Mr. Cook just exemplifies people like him who are support people for our educational leaders out there. But, you know, you think about somebody like Mr. Cook who comes in early, stays late, just to make sure that the school is in tip-top shape and clean and all. You know, he's just a testament to our school district. I would, Mr. Destin, if it's okay, I mean, I had the opportunity to go see one of my favorite productions of all time, and I'm not ashamed to say that I love ABBA. I've always loved ABBA. But Fort Walton Beach knocked it out of the park. And I know there's a certain drama teacher who is no longer at Fort Walton Beach that would be very proud of her student, and I know she is because she did reach out to me and say how much she is proud of her student. But they knocked it out of the park, and if you are like me and you hear ABBA on the radio, you know you're going to sing their song. That whole audience was singing at the very end and just had a great thing. So, you know, we talk about the arts, and to see that is just incredible. And they're not the only ones that are putting on these great shows. We got more coming. So if you really want to take a look and see what's going on, I know Niceville just had a winter production, but they have Footloose coming up in May. So there's a lot going on. Crestview has their production coming up, and I'm really excited to see these productions. They make great date nights for me and Beth. So, but to see the faces and just what the students put on was just Broadway caliber production. So, kudos to Miss Madison, who is the arts teacher or the drama teacher at Fort Walton Beach. They did a great job. So, that is it.
Okay, Dr. White.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nothing this morning.
Okay, all right. Well, I have a couple things. First of all, you mentioned the career fair, college and career fair, that is co-sponsored between the district and the Public Schools Foundation. And it's coming up on March 3rd. It'll be at Beachside Community Church. And we're still offering for any vendors, anybody who would like to be a part of that, to reach out to the school district, and we will get them with Miss Debbie Tate and work that out. And what a great opportunity for students. And it's the 6th year we've done this, and it continues to be a success. All right, let's talk about my Gators. Okay, first of all, the girls weightlifting team, I told you last meeting that they had won their 9th district championship. Well, they've moved on, and they've captured their first regional title in school history, and they did it in both areas of traditional and Olympic, and that's almost unheard of. You just can't do that. And it was significant, beating their opponents 71-36 and 57-49. So they didn't just win it, they dominated it. So ultimately, this Friday, they'll be in Lakeland, Florida. Down there for their state, we have 11 ladies going down there to do weightlifting competition. So go Lady Gators. So we may be recognizing even more state champions, and I'm just so very proud of them, and Coach Oglesby at Baker, great program, and Coach Carlisle, he's excited. We're all very excited about that. In addition, we all know that we've started pulling up our football fields in our district. I think Choctaw's is underway. Is Niceville's underway? Okay. So Baker's is coming up. But in Gator fashion, they are going to do it in a fanfare way, and they're hosting Swamp Fest on next Monday. School is not in session on February 16th, and that evening, what they're going to do is do a proper send-off to a football field that has actually allowed a lot of champions to come out of Baker School. As you know, Baker has more state champions than any other school in Okaloosa County.
No, I didn't know that, but thanks for telling.
But, yeah, just let it sink in. But anyway, they're going to have Swamp Fest, and it's true. Look it up. My Miss Hurley's out there. I know she probably has the exact stats. But anyway, Mr. Destin, my colleague and businessman, he and I are going to run the fish fry area. I'll supervise. He's going to do the work, and that's how we usually do it. And we're having that. We got live music. We're going to have a lot of different events. It's a family event as we cheer on that old field, and we're going to welcome in the start of the new one. All the money, seriously, the track team is losing money. Of course, they can't have their events, so this will help them with their season, as all the funds that we raise will go to them in that program. All kinds of food besides the fish fry. Also, Mr. Spolsky, here we go. Guess what? They're going to have a cow patty bingo, okay, that you can do. Now, come on, that's good. And that's good. I have seen it. They used to do that at Choctaw a long time ago. But we're up there in Baker, so it's easier to get to cows. So it's going to be a really good thing, okay? And so it's a big, big event. Bring your family. Lots of fun, lots of food, lots of things. And we're expecting not only our Baker community to come out, but everybody throughout the district. So I hope you'll join us. It's going to be a great time. And I know part of it also is Baker's still celebrating having attained that A, so we're looking forward to it. So that's next Monday, starting, the gates will open at 5, and this is at the stadium, so it's going to be fun, right? It's going to be fun. We're going to have some good fish. It's going to be great. So hope everybody will come. Put that on your calendar.
No snow cones?
We didn't talk about snow cones. Well, considering when we planned this, it was like not above the freezing mark. That's true. We didn't talk about the snow cones, so.
Too cold.
But it's going to be nice weather, we're thinking, yeah.
That's
Hey,
the next one.
It's the next one, that's right. Okay, thank you so much. All right, moving along to section 14, public comment, and we do have a yellow card. Okay, our yellow card is Miss Cynthia West, and her topic is Mary Esther Elementary. Miss West, if you would like to come forward. And I will turn it to our attorney, he'll give you some instructions.
Yes, ma'am, you'll have 2 minutes to make your presentation.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'll be quick then. Appreciate the opportunity to speak before you. Thank you, Madam Chair, Superintendent, public, and administrators. Mary Esther Elementary School is set to be voted on for closure on February 23rd. When a Title I elementary school serving some of our most vulnerable students faces closure, the public deserves careful consideration and full transparency. Let me ask a question that deserves to be asked plainly and on the record. If this were a higher income school sitting on a less valuable land, would this closure even be under consideration? Members of the Okaloosa County School Board, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Cynthia West, and I've been taking a deep dive into how the district operates, how funding flows, how facilities are managed, and how state education policy directly affects local communities. Through that work, I've been deeply engaged with the Florida education legislation focused on improving outcomes. I want to ground this discussion in the district's stated mission to prepare all students to achieve excellence while empowering them to positively impact their families and communities. Mary Esther is a Title I school. Approximately 72% of the students qualify for free and reduced lunch. Only about half of these students, just over half, are proficient in math and reading. This tells us clearly that these students in this community need more support, not to be displaced. Schools are anchors in underserved communities. Keeping families close strengthens engagement, stability, and involvement. Moving students farther away does the opposite at a time when consistency matters most. One option we're seriously considering is the Florida Schools of Hope initiative. Schools of Hope are public charter schools created by the legislature to serve students from persistently low-performing schools. These communities, and also communities near opportunity zones. There are that are operated by approved providers subject to heightened accountability and reporting and auditing requirements. Under Florida law, a School of Hope may be located within 5 miles of a federally designated opportunity zone. They're 3.3 miles away. I urge you to consider this as an option.
Excuse me?
Did you want any comments? Or do I just sit down?
No, I just want to say you were focusing on the Title I part?
Yes.
Okay, I'm saying that.
Well, that's not what's required for a School of Hope. It's within the 5 miles of the opportunity zone. They're 3.3 miles away.
Right, gotcha. But at first you were saying that these students need the additional services, right, because they're Title I?
Oh, I'm just saying that displace them. They're already a disadvantaged population, worth consideration. When you have a disadvantaged population, they're less likely to have parents in a community that's going to advocate for them to stay open. And then when you combine that with the higher value land that they sit on, that's why I'm just hoping that we're considering all options. As we stated earlier, we respect coming to the conversation with more options. And even though we may disagree, we all agree on the student outcomes as our priority.
Madam Chair, I don't want to go tit for tat, so I'll just end on this point. I have heard some people make the comment, I think your first point was, if this wasn't on valuable land, would it have ever been a consideration? I can probably put that to ease by the nature of the discussion, including Longwood, which is, I believe, also a Title I school, and its potential to be closed. This is enrollment-based and not value of the land based, because Longwood wouldn't even be in consideration, because if you close Longwood, that goes back to the military. There's no value in it. So if it was a strictly value of land discussion as trying to kick them out so we can sell land and derive a profit. Longwood wouldn't even be on the chopping block because you can't derive any value from it. It reverts back to the military.
I think that's multifaceted because when you look at trying to overfill the other schools to make up for the attrition, I really honestly feel that the school board is missing the mark when you're looking at the enrollment declines, when we're not looking at the core root to why families are choosing to pull their children out of public education. And that goes back to the outcomes, and that's far more than just the educational outcomes. And I appreciate this conversation during Hope Week, and I hope that we can get that data, as we talked a few weeks ago, and I was told that that data does not exist. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm not sure what data she's talking about.
The one for the cell phone and the bullying, because I was told that we don't keep track of data.
Okay. Okay. I don't, is she
I
referring
would-
to a conversation with you, sir?
She must be. To say we don't keep track of data obviously would be an incorrect statement.
The bullying data, I was told.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So to say that we don't keep track of data would absolutely be inaccurate. There was more to a context of a conversation. Now, there was a lot that was just stated here up at the dais. And the thing that I would remind anyone is we've had several meetings where we've gone over all the factors of what was just stated. And one thing I would say, and to the south end of the county, and we have fantastic schools, but when you look at, like we presented, over the last 10 years, we've had a 19% drop in enrollment at the elementary level. And that's just factual data. When you look at the two schools that are there, Mary Esther, B School, absolutely fantastic school. Longwood, my first principalship, it's near and dear to my heart. And the thing that I would say that, and I've heard it, you're closing these two schools to gain money based on land. And this board knows that that has no factor in any decision. I probably would go even stronger on that, but has no factor. Then you look at, and I've heard this as well, closing a school based on it being Title I or free and reduced lunch. The amount that we try to do for all students in the school district, but especially for our students in need, is something that I know we all take near and dear to us. So I'm just going to say that and just appreciate the comments that you provided today, and just and I'll stop there.
Board members, anything? Let me ask you, we have no failing schools,
Correct.
okay? Or underperforming schools, however you want to say that, right?
So by state statute, so we do not. We have 3 C schools, the rest A and B schools.
Okay, and Mary Esther,
B school.
a B school, okay. All right. Thank you. Okay,
I do have one.
oh, sure.
Talking about if we were to vote and actually close school, we haven't done that yet. But if we were to have vote and close that school down and we were to sell that property, where would that money go to? Because we just can't just,
It'd go to capital dollars.
okay, it doesn't go anywhere else. We can't go
Correct.
anywhere else.
So it doesn't help what we just a few minutes ago were talking about. That doesn't do anything for that, does it? By selling that school?
It does not, and it does not.
So it doesn't help us give raises. It doesn't help any in that way because it is a capital asset
Correct.
that the school owns, okay, the school district
And
owns,
it retains that designation, right?
yes. Okay, all right, any other comments or anything? Okay, all right. All right, moving on. All right, so we've covered a lot of things today, and I hope the public will watch and get a better understanding. So let me ask senior staff if you have any more comments. Okay, Ms. Appleberg, Mr. Strong, anything? All right, then this workshop, oh, yes, Ms. Cato?
I have one last thing I wanted to add. I thought
was pretty significant with the health clinic. The project manager from Marathon that goes in and just builds and puts all the furniture in and makes sure everything looks exactly the way it's supposed to be. She graduated from Mary Esther and Fort Walton Beach High School. And so this is a labor of love for her. And her cousin, I believe, is a teacher with us as well. So it just comes all around full circle, and I just wanted to point that out. I forgot in my previous.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, okay. All right, all right. This meeting is adjourned.